Okay, going official here. Okay, this is Mike McCoo, Chairman of the Town of Wellington Board of Finance, calling to order the regular meeting of Thursday, May 19th, 2022 at 7:06 p.m. Member Jeff Prusak is not here, and he has requested that I seat Jim Gilligan in his place. So I'll make a motion to seat Jim Gilligan.
So
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Can I get a vote? Are you ready to call the votes?
I think so. I might need a little bit of a,
Go ahead and give it a shot. Just
okay. So I have to ask the people that are on.
so, yeah, so you'll get the regular members, and then once it's approved, then Jim will be counted in the future votes.
Okay. Christina,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Motion carries. Jim, welcome aboard.
Okay, I'm on board.
Thank you. Okay. Present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic, and maintain decorum. Anybody present to speak? Hi, Donna. All right. Seeing no present to speak, we'll move on to old business. Budget status, financial report, April. Now, let's see if I can- I'm going to try to bring this report up on a screen share if I do it right. I have it somewhere. Stand by all. It's about to. Okay, there we go. Donna, is there anything on this report you'd like to highlight or any concerns you have at this point?
No budget concerns.
I see we're 85%, 86% through the expenses, and we're about 3/4 of the way through the year. So
Yes,
you think that's okay? The percentage wise, we're running a little ahead. That's okay.
that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay on the expenses.
Very good. Any board member discussion, comments? Okay. Moving on. Item 2 of old business, Wellington Fire Department #1, ambulance and truck repairs, request for 23,000 additional funds in current fiscal year. Chief Moore, do you want to start just giving us a quick overview?
Yep. The biggest, we had started talking, I believe, back in January about this.
Well, we had a conversation in Erica's office back in October.
In October,
Yeah.
correct. Because of a significant repair back then, and it's just escalated since then. In 3 months, we spent almost $18,000 just on the ambulance and repairs. Our other truck, our rescue pumper, was the same thing. We've spent about $18,000 in repairs on that truck this year. The ambulance alone was over 22,000 in repairs to today, which has put us well over, just those two trucks was 23,000, and that's why we're here to ask to try to recoup that. There are things still left in our budget that we needed to purchase this year, another set of bunker gear, electricity, stuff like that. We're at the point where we're over our budget now, just from the bills that have come into today. And that's why we're here. I did provide Mike a financial report that we got today, so that we could show the latest so where we are.
Was it mostly drivetrain or the pump, or was it?
Pump. There was a pump issue.
So the water,
Correct.
that's not good.
No.
You want to hang in a second? I'll do a screen share.
I can state the obvious with best of both.
So we've done everything we can, as we had discussed in previous meetings, to work up until we could, not, couldn't any further. And that's when we made the request to Chairman.
Do you have someplace where we can find $23,000?
Well, we can't allocate $23,000 on that work.
Yeah,
We have to send that to the taxpayers.
But do we have someplace where it could come from, or do we need to?
Well, we would have to talk with Donna about, I think we factored a lot of the dollars into the budget because we're close to the end of the year. You have transfers.
Yes, I have transfers coming.
Do you have $23,000 somewhere that's,
For $23,000, I think if we scoop up the little bits here and there, I think we can pull it together.
okay.
It's gonna look like one of those Frankenstein motions. there?
Yes,
Okay.
So, okay, so there's a couple things here. So we went through this, as you remember, the last fiscal year also. You came to us, I think you wanted $13,000 that time.
13,000.
And we were able to do 10 because we can do that within our authority.
Right.
This is a bigger situation.
The fear with just the 10 is, we know we need to set up bunker gear. We have a guy going through training that needs to set up bunker gear. And with the electricity and stuff like that, I don't know if 10 will cut till July. I don't know.
So your,
Mike,
yes,
Already,
I'm sorry. Could I just ask, could you guys speak a little louder or turn up the volume? Because it's it's really hard to hear some of the discussion, some of the responses.
all right, we'll try to speak a little louder.
Thank you.
Goes into that,
Okay,
the owl.
I didn't want to feel like I was shouting at people, so.
That's perfect, that volume.
Thank you.
and seeing that we're already 6,000, and the 10,000 just won't, unfortunately, cut it this year.
All right, so we're talking about, just for the people looking at the screen, this number near the bottom right is the amount the department is over budget right now.
You read that number for me? I can't.
$5,998. $5,998.58.
Thank you.
And if I'm understanding what Alex, Chief Moore was just saying, you will be over by 23,000 by the end of the fiscal year?
No, we're looking for 23,000 to get us to the end of the year with what's projected for electricity, a set of bunker gear, turnout gear. That's what is needed to get us to July 1st.
So what you're saying is that 23,000, you would lose 6,000 of it right away because you're already over budget, which means 17,000 would get you to the end of the year.
Correct, with whatever, yes.
Okay.
That's to complete the projects that were in last year's budget after the 23,000 is what encompasses those two vehicle repairs.
How much is a set of bunkers here? Just, I just have no idea. That's why I'm asking.
And honestly, today, I don't know. There's been 3 price increases since the last set of gear we ordered 2 months ago,
What was the last set of gear cost?
almost 6,000,
Thank you.
5,500.
I was gonna guess 5.
Yeah, 5,500.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have you guys race into those burning buildings wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Some people that will not like that.
And some people will.
Okay, so what was the reason? So just because we did this last year also, what was the reason you were over last year?
Ambulance.
And the
Ambulance
repairs.
repairs. I believe it was ambulance repairs.
All right. Other board member questions on the details of this request?
Well, the two items, Alex, they total more like 22,000 and 23. Is that? And then also there's 2,500 overage and regular vehicle maintenance. So everything together, we're talking whatever, 25,000 over.
And we figured the 23 we could get through till the end of the year. We didn't want to ask
That's
for every overage. We were just trying to get to.
okay.
I mean, we do have some other overages, electricity stuff that, out of our control. The insurance, when the budget was done last year, we don't get our insurance stuff until halfway through the year. So
So the whole overall financial picture thing, kind of brings up some stuff that you and I have been talking about some over the last few months and has been shared with the board over the last few months. So the last time you and I talked, because of a clerical error, there was a payroll lien. What is the status of the payroll lien that is that's against the fire department because it's a corporation, right?
correct.
Okay. And what's the status with getting that corrected?
I believe that has been corrected and the lien has been released.
Oh,
I believe that's all corrected. I'll confirm that.
Okay. I know everything had been submitted that they requested. I didn't know if the lien,
okay,
I hadn't seen the paperwork yet, so,
okay.
but I know all of the stuff that they
Yeah,
needed. had
all
been
of the
submitted.
documentation has been submitted to correct it. Let me just make sure that it's been corrected and
Okay.
released.
Okay, that would be great news.
Yep.
There in that discussion, there was some information that possibly notices from the IRS had went unaddressed or unnoticed or whatever. Can you kind of help us understand what
Yeah.
happened there?
There was just some that were missed and I didn't know they were at the building. So as soon as I got them, they were given to the town. Unfortunately, with 5 or 6 different people getting the mail, somebody put something in the wrong place.
I understand how it can happen. I had similar experiences. Just obviously, this is a big deal.
Oh, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. All right, and then the other issue I know you were working on is that we had discovered that there was 15 years of unfiled or misplaced or
So
the
they were
IRS believes there's 15 years of unfiled
correct, and it was
tax returns.
correct, and it was not 15 years, it was less than that. But all of the stuff has been, we were given a list of stuff that we had to get for the auditors. It's going to the auditors. There was bank records and stuff like that. They just have to reconcile to file everything. So
Who are the auditors are from where? Who's the auditors? Or did the IRS send auditors or how did this?
No, our accountants, I'm sorry.
Or your
Not-
accountants?
Our accountants, not
Okay.
auditors, I apologize.
Okay,
The
so,
accountants
okay,
gave us a list of stuff to file with them. So that's being
so they
done.
could
Yeah.
repair the tax
Correct.
returns or
Correct,
whatever.
and they already started working on it, so.
How many tax years are involved, Alex?
In 10?
10?
Any idea how that happened?
I honestly, no, because it was before I took over and I didn't know, no, I have no idea. Honestly, I think it's just an oversight of one thinking one did it and not. It was nothing intentional, it was just, I think, an oversight.
So part of the reason I'm asking these questions, I'm sure it doesn't surprise you,
Nope.
you're involved in multiple town type organizations
Absolutely.
in multiple towns.
Yep.
That I'm getting a little bit of people saying to me, okay, what's the responsibility level?
Yep.
If the fire department hasn't been filing their tax returns and didn't know about it.
Yep.
And ended up not opening their IRS letters and ended up with a tax lien against the property. And has been
The-
coming 2 years looking
So-
for money, like people are just putting that together in one pot.
Right, so the tax lien, we did not know anything about that because we didn't get original letters. And we traced that back. There was no original letter to us until it came to the town. We got that at the same time the town.
Okay.
And that was delivered the day that it was.
Okay.
The letter that we got that did not make it to the town was a follow-up, was not the tax lien. It was a follow-up with a question regarding what had been sent originally, which was still a wrong file.
Okay.
So it was not a tax lien that was missed of or that we didn't know about. It was those we did receive because it was a return receipt.
So typically typically people would expect that the IRS would start sending some warning notices before they file a lien, right? And so apparently that didn't happen, is what you're saying?
We have never found a letter saying so.
Okay.
And we did tear apart the entire firehouse trying to find that. So
Alex, could I just ask you if, who's responsible for, because, you know, it's one thing to have accountants, but putting together a tax return, particularly because you have to keep your good protection over your tax exempt status. If
It
you
would be-
want, you know, who's like the key person that compiles your department information to help the accountants file that, or the CPA?
our treasurer,
What's that?
The treasurer.
the treasurer,
Okay, who's the treasurer right now?
Stuart Cobb.
And how long has he been treasurer, do you know?
I don't know, a long time. I don't know.
So is there, I just,
Other than
you know, I'm kind of looking forward, you know, like what, like, so that, you know, we're not asking you annoying questions every year, but you know, who's
So we are
kind of taking over that sort of talking to the CPA, making sure all the Ts are crossed.
right, currently, I am the one dealing with the CPAs. But there are controls being put in place by the board of directors to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So we do have a board of directors, and the board of directors are putting policies in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again. As far as the question about the budget with having to come back 2 years in a row, if you remember from the previous 2 years, we also did get cut. The first year was almost 10,000 or so out of our budget. And I think it was almost similar to the year before that. So, and we were always told during the budget seasons that if you have a shortage, to come back, and that's,
Here we are.
here we are.
Can you, I know it doesn't, it might not sound pertinent, but can you give us an update on where we are with, you know, ambulance 1, ambulance 2, ambulance 3, whatever it is? You know, like what's the status on the ARPA ambulance and the one that's in the CIP plan as of July 1st?
So the ambulance that it was purchased through ARPA is currently getting outfitted. There was a couple of things that needed to be repaired to make it compliant with the state. So it's already got the radios and everything installed. It's in Eastford. To be compliant with the state of Connecticut, the lights have to flash a certain way. It's the only state that does this. Connecticut has to be difficult, but so they have to reprogram every light to flash a certain way. It needed a service and it's got to get tires put on. So it is almost done up there. They're waiting for the Chapel Tire and Union to be able to do the tires and the light.
When do you project?
Our hope is to have it here for Wellington Day so that people can at least see it at Wellington Day, and to have it in the parade and then outfitted within a month and in service. That is the goal. Our goal was May 31st to have it in service, but we are licensed as of the end of, or the middle of next week with the state to operate 2 ambulances. There was no objections, and actually we got a lot of thank you letters from the chiefs surrounding us to adding a second ambulance.
Well, of course, because they can use the help.
No, they don't want to be coming here to do our calls either. That's everybody's so busy that trying to limit it to how much they're going out of town is what we got thankful.
And how is the repaired ambulance operating these days?
And wood, it's okay. We haven't noticed any issues since it came back getting the last $8,000 worth of work done.
And there's no movement until July 1 on the other one.
Correct. So we did, without signing any paperwork, we are trying to get a chassis aligned. The department is looking to do just a remount. So take our box and put it on a new chassis, because there's nothing in theory wrong with our box. Our box is fine. To try to save some money in the long run. So that we can stay under that 300,000. But we don't want to go out to bid until we're closer to that July 1, because everybody, right now, with the way prices are changing by week. It's no longer, they'll give you net 30 or net 60 days to agree on things. Lately, it's been, we'll give you 7 days to agree with it. And that's what we've got from multiple vendors. That's the status of both fronts. We are still being told anywhere from 18 to 24 months, even on a remount.
Are you trying to go with a diesel chassis again?
Currently, yes, we haven't bid it out. We know we can do either gas. It has to say-
Gas is definitely coming in faster.
They are coming in faster, but yes, we still run into the issue. We don't have anywhere to get gas other than a gas station. And if we lose power, the ambulance is out. So that's where we're kind of hesitant.
Any more board question discussions?
Yeah, getting back to the $23,000. Do we need a motion to ask for a motion to be presented to the Board of Selectmen to bring to town meeting, or do we just ask?
That is how we would, if we were gonna go forward with this request as it stands, we would make a motion to ask the Board of Selectmen. The problem is we don't have a fund source right now.
We do not, and.
Well, that would be my motion, is to ask for a fund source.
Well, yeah, so let's see.
You don't need a town meeting if you are going to transfer money that's already been approved in the existing budget, which is what we are trying to do. We
Okay.
only need a town meeting if we are going to make an additional appropriation from our fund balance or from another source. But at
But
the
if it was
moment,
within the
Yeah.
already approved,
yes.
like general government budget.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna go department by department and find whatever monies are not being spent and see if I can put together a $23,000 transfer.
Okay, so here's what I
That's
would,
what you would like.
so here's what I would like to suggest then is if the board members agree to the idea, I'd like to suggest that we let Donna do her homework. And if she can indeed find it, or let's say she finds 22,500, then we'll call a special meeting and
Make
deal
a
with it
transfer.
and make the transfers. Does that seem like a reasonable solution? Instead of blindly approving a transfer that we don't yet know that we have all the dollars for?
Yeah,
I
I think that was my question, is do we need a motion to ask for a look?
No, she can
Or
look.
just look?
She
All
can
right,
look.
let's do that.
So-
I don't know if this, go ahead, Christine, I have to form a sentence.
So I guess I have a question for Chief Moore and for Donna. So you don't need these funds until next month. You don't need it tomorrow, right? Chief Moore?
So if you look at our expense report, we're already over budget. So anything that comes in between now and then, either I can't pay or it's going against, we're going
And
in.
by over budget, he means overspent. He's
Overspent.
already spent his allotted budget money
Correct.
for the year.
So a week doesn't make a difference at this point.
But a month might.
A month might.
That was gonna be my suggestion, is that we
Month by month, no problem.
that we look for an emergency meeting to send this. And that's why I wanted it to happen as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm happy with calling a special meeting. I'm fine with that. I just think as a matter of process, we shouldn't set a financial transaction in order when we don't actually know if we have. the
Right.
report. So-
That's why we need a meeting to give another meeting to give Donna time to
So
find the money.
if Donna, I'm sure within a couple of days of work, we'll have an answer on what's available. And that way we'll know that we have either 23 or 22.5 or whatever the number is that's available, so that we can use this process. If for some reason she says, no, there's only $5,000 available, we take a different path. Town meeting or whatever.
Christina, did you have another?
Yeah. So my second question was for Donna, because I'm usually in June, we do the transfers anyway. So I'm wondering if you even know yet what the other transfers will be and where this fits into the whole scheme of it all. Because even a week from now, the picture might not be clear of
You're
what
right, Christine. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of salary adjustments that still have to be done. So yes, we may not have a clear picture in a week of what's going to be left over. You're right, it usually doesn't all flush out until mid-June, when we can really see, who has what left in their budget.
And you just reminded me of something else, because I was going to ask about the union contract, and now that it's ratified, there's some back pay, I think, that needs to, for this year, that needs to get paid out to all employees. Is that happening in this budget and will require transfers from us this year, or will it be in July that it happens?
Retro pay is happening in this year, and it will be on the June transfer list in this year, for this year.
Okay. So that's quite a bit that's going to be a lot, I would think.
It was budgeted
It was
for
budgeted for.
in a placeholder account.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But then, well, it's a separate question. I'm just wondering about why it was a 5% increase for next year, because I just thought that it was part of that. I don't know why.
Well, it's
That's what
5%
we
for
were
next year, because it was going off of a number that was not yet adjusted.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Yep, it did make sense to me at one point, now I'm remembering. Okay.
Okay, so our board members, okay, have you formed your sentence yet that you wanted to form? Or did you forget
Yeah,
all about that?
no, what I did was I wanted to make sure that we kept stepping on this and got it so that Chief Morgan paid his bills.
Yeah, as soon as
That's,
Don, I believe, my
Right.
feeling is, as soon as Donna's office is in a position to give us an
Yeah.
answer,
Yeah.
then
we'll call a meeting right away.
That's what I wanted to
Yes.
form a sentence for me.
Yeah.
Could I just ask another question of Donna? Do you have any expectation that there will be overages like this in other cost centers and other people's budgets that could aggravate this decision?
Not like $23,000. I know a couple of line items, and it's on the April report that the auditor is $1,000 over, and the seniors, Wellington Senior Center will be over a couple of $1,000 because of a maintenance issue that was not budgeted for. So there's some little things that will need tweaking. But I don't see anything, as large of an amount as this, that's going to come up short in a particular department.
Thank you.
Okay, are we all good with this, the path we're on?
Mhm.
Okay, no objections to moving on? Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Updates from board representatives to other committees. Well, in order here, ARPA, Christina, you did email a report, which I emailed out to the board members. Would you like that on the screen, or you want to just run through it, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'll just run through it. I'm just finding it. That was today, right? Yes.
Seems like it.
Yeah, so basically where we're at is that there is a public hearing coming up next week on Tuesday evening. Just to remind everyone, our process is to receive the requests, and then we do a hearing, an informal hearing at our regular meetings. And then if it seems like it's ready to be brought to the public, meaning there's some actual costs and there's just like a project plan that's associated with it, then we will bring it to a public hearing, which is in the evening. And that's where the public can weigh in on these things. And then we don't take action on an item until there's been a public hearing. So that is happening on next Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. The projects that are happening that night total $110,000. It's devices for town staff and senior center at $38,460.30. Some money for human services for the fuel bank and heating expenses, which we will help with just getting some funds into the hands of households that need it. The summer camp supplement for human services and park and rec, that's actually a proposal so that summer camp could be potentially no cost to families in this year, and then in the next 2 years it tapers off to the point where it's fully funded again. And the idea behind it is that it needs to be brought back to life, and we want to do everything possible to support it. So that's that. The Conservation Commission has a request for $2,800 for a forestry plan. Conservation Commission is asking for building materials for the park structure maintenance for $3,500. Senior Center has some tech upgrades that they'd like to do for $2,400. And then the ARPA Commission itself has some public hearing expenses that we would like to budget and is a good use of the funds. So those 7 items are on the list and will be discussed thoroughly. To date, $1,056,500 of the $1,735,454.22 has been appropriated. Two projects have been officially closed and both were under budget. So there is another $5,230 that is freed up to allocate elsewhere. And we are expecting, like with the ambulance, for example, that it's going to come in under budget as well. And whatever funds are left over will also go back into the pot to be reallocated. And if all of the projects coming to the public hearing are approved, then there still will be $573,982.99 remaining. And after that, there's 5 projects that are new or tabled, which totals $442,250. And that's all going to be discussed at the next regular meeting on June 6th. We aren't going to be talking about it at the public hearing. And so one is drainage and lighting at River Road. That project, we're still researching costs and things like that. The furnace at Wellington Hill Fire Department, which looks like they had originally asked for $35,000, and the last we heard, they're going to reduce it to $20,000. So that's good. And the Housing Authority would like an emergency generator at Button Hill for $200,000, but they need to get actual pricing and things. There's a lot more detail to find out about that. And Wellington Historical Society asked for $10,000 to do some archival storage project. And then this project is the only one that has been submitted but not yet received by the board because it was after our last regular meeting. But the selectmen are going to ask for employee retention bonuses for town staff. So that one will be on the June 6th. All those we'll be talking about that. And we have heard that there's some others requests in the pipeline. Lots of people have been asking and talking about it. So we just, it's not official until it gets submitted, so there's no point in talking about those. And the EDC just today announced and shared a link for small businesses and nonprofits to apply for funds. They can apply for up to $15,000, and there is a total of $300,000 that was already allocated for that program. So they're hopeful that there'll be a lot of interest, and if there is, they have the funds to help people out. So that's that. Does anyone have any questions?
Just one. The hearing is next Tuesday, the 24th, at 6:30 at the, on Jared Sparks Common Road intersection there.
The old
The town hall.
I think it's in the town office building, actually, because it's going to be on Zoom too. It's going to be like this.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't zoom up there.
No, not yet.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So going back to the employee bonus things, I know there was kind of a question, and first of all, for clarity, we've made it pretty clear the Board of Finance doesn't have purview here, so I'm not saying that we really have a say in this, but I'm bringing up a concern about how those things get voted on. There was research done early on in my time on the Board of Finance as to what constituted a conflict of interest. And the town attorney's response at that time was, if the person who has a public capacity to approve or vote to approve on something that benefits the organization where they have a pecuniary interest, that's how the lawyer wrote it, I had to look it up, that means financial. If they have a financial interest, then they can't, by state ethics rules, vote on something that potentially benefits them or benefits the organization that they get money from. With most of the ARPA members, and I don't know the exact numbers, but most of the ARPA Commission members voting potentially on their own bonus, I would think that's a very clear red line that would be an ethics violation. So I don't know that for sure, I'm not an attorney, but based on previous information, and I've taken the CCM ethics training that was offered to us town employees and town board members. And again, based on that CCM ethics training, that you cannot vote on your own raise, basically. You can't vote to give yourself a bonus.
Right.
Will you have a quorum that can vote on this if you eliminate all of those people from voting on their own bonus?
Well, that's a good question, and I actually already brought that up to the Board of Selectmen, just in a letter, after I received the submission. We haven't talked about it yet at ARPA, so it hasn't even been discussed, so I'm not sure what the plan is, but it would depend on who was present that day to figure out to know what the total number of voting members would be, and then what the makeup of those are. But there's many scenarios where it wouldn't be possible to vote on it because there wouldn't be enough people to do it, if everyone was recusing themselves. So yeah, that's a real question. So then it brings me to, so then what happens to that request? Who does vote on it? Does it then go to the Board of Finance? Can it go to the Board of Finance? We only asked the question before the other way, which was, should the Board of Finance be involved in the decision in a regular situation? Now it's sort of, if ARPA wants the Board of Finance to vote on it or bring it to a town meeting, can they? So and maybe not, maybe I would think in that, if that's not possible, then the selectmen, I guess, would come to the Board of Finance and ask for it to be funded that way. But in that case, it would be funded. Can the Board of Finance now decide if it should be funded through ARPA or not, or would it come from the general fund or some other funding source? So all that is to be figured out, I guess.
Christina, could you just back up a little? The crux is because most of the people who were appointed to the ARPA commission are town department heads.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And
Yes.
they're directly the beneficiaries of the bonus idea is at that level?
Yes.
Is that, so it's pretty much person almost a one-to-one line with who would,
Yes, so the proposal, and the proposal's online if anybody wants to look at it, but so it's public information, but it's basically every single town employee on the town side is listed as receiving some type of bonus plus a retention, not a retention, but an end of the year, or not even some kind of party to thank people for all their hard work during COVID, and which is a great idea. I'm just not sure who can vote on it and what funding source we can use. So hopefully by June 6th, we'll all know what the answer to that is and what that process would be.
The current status is you're waiting for some answer back from the selectmen as to the question of how do we deal with this conundrum.
Yeah, and basically what I told them was, okay, I can already see that this is going to be an issue. Now we have a couple of weeks to research it and figure out. So when the time comes to talk about it, hopefully there'll be answers. That's basically how I left it.
are there any elected officials on the list for bonuses?
No. And I think that's expressly written in the ARPA final rule that's not allowed.
Christina, I will forward to you, since you're representing the Board of Finance, and the town attorney's letter that I referenced before was directly in reference to Board of Finance potential conflicts. I'll forward that letter, that information from the town attorney. I believe it's the same attorney to you. But you can at least see how it's worded,
Okay.
possibly introduce it into the conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
any other board member questions for Christina before we move on? Christina, you all set?
I'm set.
Thank you for that report. School Building Committee, that's me. School Building Committee has been continuing the process of sort of a dual effort of looking at the possibility of building an entirely new single school or the potential of renovating a single building. As everybody knows, the idea of being able to renovate Center School into a complete K-8 school is really pretty much off the table. The board is not spending any more time on that because the property is too small. It just simply won't support it. So really the two key paths that are being researched and worked on are, as I said, building an entirely new school on an adequate piece of property in town, or renovating some capacity and percentage of renovation of the Hall School to make the combined K-8 school work on that property. Obviously, there's a lot more details involved. Some of the stuff on the land side right now is, of course, happening in executive session because that's critical to that process. But that's the report at this time, moving forward on both of those fronts, developing ideas, looking at property, all that stuff. Any board member questions on School Building Committee? All right. Moving on to Town Employee Bargaining Agreement. Can we finally report on that?
Yes, it's on file with the with the town clerk. It's been ratified, it's signed, and the whole 9 yards. It's there.
Okay. And I think we know what the numbers are,
Yeah,
right?
because I let the cat out of the bag last time.
Well, could you go ahead and just say what I mean, I know there's catch up, but so we had that placeholder, but the actual number is what?
The actual number was our placeholder for this year. That's why we had it budgeted. So it was, what was it for this year? Two for this year, and then 2.7 for the following 2 years. So when we had budgeted 2 for this year, and so it came in at 2 for this year for the town employees. That way it met our budget. We didn't have to finagle anything, cause heartburn.
So the 3 years are the fiscal year that's ending right now.
Mhm.
and the next 2 years, and they're 2.7 and 2.7, is that?
Yep.
2.75, 2.75,
Oh, sorry,
and
okay,
actually 2.2% for the year.
okay, 2.2, 2.75, 2.75. Okay,
Thank you. I think there was some, I hadn't heard the exact numbers. Thank you.
questions, comments, Christina?
Peter, can you talk about some of the other things that were agreed to? I'm just thinking about insurance, and I know that you always
All right.
spend a lot of time on that
The-
stuff.
There was some insurance things that I can't speak intelligently to them right now. I'd have to refer back to the contract because it took 4 months for them to sign the thing. So in those 4 months, I've kind of lost some of those details. One of the big sticking points in the writing of the contract was the Janus decision by the Supreme Court on whether town employees had to be members of the union or not. And there was some disagreement in the wording, and the Connecticut legislature is throwing some gravel into that mess too. One lawyer felt that it was a fully reasonable thing for the state legislature to do, and the other attorney thought that it was completely unconstitutional. So they had to come to some meetings in the minds on that. But I just read the wording, and it's so opaque that it could meet it, it could not, for all I know. I need a law degree.
Was that the hitching point, Peter? I mean, as
No,
far as-
that was one of the hitching points. There was some negotiation on the pay raises and whether they would be I'm not sure how much I can share on the discussion there. But it was being tied to the education budget discussions as well. So I had made a comment, and I'm not sure that it's fair, but I'll repeat myself here that the Board of Education needs to be aware that when they give big raises to teachers, they're also giving big raises to town employees.
Well, that's good for us to know. Because I mean, I guess what I was wondering about the delay in the whole process and how it kind of, held the budget hostage for a long time and kept us sort of in a fog over what numbers we were actually dealing with. Is there any way to sort of look, because I thought it was because of a slow process with the attorney.
The numbers weren't what held us up. The numbers went relatively quickly once we began to meet.
Okay.
What held us up is the union's attorney didn't show up for 6 months and then held the writing of it up for 4 months after that. And so that's what held it up. The actual negotiations went, I thought, pretty smoothly and fairly collegially, I don't know. Collegially on both sides of the table.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I wanted to raise, which is, do we need to say anything or put anything in a letter about improving that, the speed of it coming to fruition in the future, since it does have some fallout?
Yeah, our ability to control the union's lawyer is I don't think within our purview. I think that's within the union's purview. And I think they're the ones that suffered from not getting some of the things that they may have gotten if they had done a little faster. I don't think their union did them any favors on this.
Any
Thanks
other
for the
questions or comments? Tina?
I guess wanted to ask Donna. So the reason why I was asking about insurance, Peter, is that sometimes that number, the percentage that the town pays of the insurance can get adjusted by just 0.25% or 0.5%, or so. If that happened, then I'm just wondering if our insurance line that we've budgeted for next year is solid. So, and I'm sure Donna knows, and I'm sure it is, but Just wanted to bring
So
it
the
up.
premium share did not change, but what did change is the plan design. And in the old plan, on the prescription drugs, after the deductible was met, the old plan paid 100% of the prescriptions. Now the plan is, after the deductible is met, there is a copay. So because we carved out that piece of the prescriptions, the premium is lower. So we actually have the exact same plan now as the Board of Ed. And we planned for that in the budget to have a little bit less of a cost for insurance.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Okay. All right, let's move on to new business. Item 1, setting the fiscal year 2023 mill rate.
Need a motion?
Well, I would just like to check with Donna that we are still good with 1.26.
Yes.
Okay, there's nothing has happened in the meantime that pushes that up or down.
It was good. I think your fund balance plan, all was good.
That's what we like to hear. We did it right. Okay, then let's have a motion.
I move that we set the mill rate at 1.26. Is that what the motion you were looking for?
That's the increase, don't we?
You know,
We don't get the
Oh,
full
yes.
rate.
The mill
Yeah,
rate
to increase by 1.26, my apologies, so that comes out.
would be
You have it in
30,
front of you.
31.
So it would be 31.25, right?
Thank you. You have it memorized.
Yes.
I don't have it memorized.
I'll second that motion to set the mill rate at 31.25.
The friendly amendment to my motion is wildly accepted with huzzas.
We just squished it together. That's good.
And the appropriation from the fund balance is the second part of it that you need a motion for.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, yes, we'll do that as a second motion. Okay.
This one first.
So yes, any discussion on the motion? Let's go.
Okay, Christina,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
oh. Joseph,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
you have to ask Jim now too.
oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Yes.
We're good, okay.
Okay, motion passes. The second half of that is the fund balance transfer, but we're gonna wait because Donna's checking to make sure we have the right number for that. So we will, since Donna's out of the room, I'm gonna move up to revenue collector suspense list. I see we have Janice online here. Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so sent it over to Mike to present today. Total that I'm looking at for suspense this year's a little like a hair less than last year. So we're looking at 20,131.91. The biggest components of that, as they were last year, are the students that are here either from out of state or come in internationally and either don't realize they have to pay the tax and then they're gone before the tax bill comes out. But we did remove a lot of bills that were charged by other towns. So we tried to clear up some of it. But again, personal property and motor vehicle, the biggest things are either the international students coming in and they just buy what they buy, Maseratis, Porsches, BMWs, Audis, and not realize they have to pay the tax before they go home. And personal property would be mostly your out-of-state students that the assessor would take pictures at the apartment houses around in Willington, and then just put them on the personal property list that they have to pay the tax because they're here going to school. The last is real estate. This should be the last year we see a high number on that. The real estate is for the Cato Rock properties that the town purchased in November. So there will be a slight amount that's going to be on next year's suspense because Cato Rock owned it on 10/1. The town didn't take possession until 11/3. So there's that 2-month window that may end up going on, will end up going on suspense.
Any questions for Janice? No? Okay, I make a motion that we accept the suspense list and authorize the chairman to sign it.
Second.
Any discussion? You can call the vote.
Christina,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. All right, thank you, Janice.
Could I ask Janice a question? Janice, is there any way to, like send the bills early to students or something like that? Is it because of the way they leave so early in May and,
Yeah, what's happening is they'll come in August, they'll purchase the vehicle. They may take it back to whatever country they're coming from, or they just sell the car, get rid of it, but don't realize they have that. What we would have to do is we call a Jeopardy collection, where we would have to send out another bill saying, this is because you're going to be leaving, we need this to be paid before you go. The problem is that we have asked the apartment complexes around town if they can help us and give us a printout of any of the students that are living there, and they're not willing to do that. I've contacted international student area in Yukon, and they can't give me a list either. So we need to find out some way to do this, and we're just gonna have to, I think, look and see, get bills out, these Jeopardy bills out, April, and hopefully that they get paid before going home.
would the state cooperate and when they register the cars?
That I don't know. That I can check into. I don't know if they'll do that. I also thought maybe checking with the local, for some reason they use Champaign in Mansfield. So I thought about contacting them and see if they can share lists of anyone purchasing a car. And maybe that will help.
Okay.
Okay. Going back to item 1 of new business, Donna got the numbers, and we need to redo our mill rate setting because we have a clerical error. If you remember the question I asked at the beginning, the fact of the matter is there was an adjustment when all the numbers got crunched, and the mill rate change is actually 1.28.
Oh, no.
So the mill rate would have to be set at 31.27, not 31.25. So
I moved to adjust the mill rate from what we just adjusted it to 31.27.
7. I'll second that.
Oh.
Discussion. All right, let's vote again.
Christina,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Motion passes. I apologize for having to redo that. This is one of those times that Robert's rules recognizes that you can relitigate something that you have already litigated if you did it in error. Okay, so the next item would be the transfer, which is it seems low. It's a great number, but that's, oh, right, because we had the previous year, we had that big amount, yes, okay. All right, so I make a motion that we authorize the fund balance transfer of $490,230.
I will second. Particularly if you read that number one more time.
490,230.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Can you repeat how you worded the motion, please?
I move that we approve the fund balance transfer for the fiscal 23 budget. How's that? In the amount of $490,230.
What does that make the total fund balance?
The remaining fund balance? We don't have that on here, right?
We don't, but we were forecasting for 10%.
We were forecasting like, yeah, it was like 10.1 or something like that. I don't remember the. It's a bunch of money. Not as much as in the past. Is that- I know it doesn't help. Okay,
Is
any
there a
more
second?
discussion? Do we,
Nobody
you got a
seconded.
second?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I second
any more discussion?
Mike, I just want to make a comment about it. Because during, at the time when we were doing the town vote on it, it was on social media that we were using a gimmick to lower the gap and keep the taxes lower. And I just want to clarify that it's not a gimmick. It's what we do every year, and our policy says to stay between 8 and 12%, and we're at 10%. So I'm not sure why there was an accusation of that, but
Was there an implication that applying fund balance was a gimmick, or that we were
Yes.
applying too much
Yes,
of it?
that's-
Or
yes, I think that's what it said.
That it was gamesmanship to keep it artificially, to keep the tax rate artificially low.
well, we gamed it at twice the level in the current fiscal year because we applied $1 million worth of fund balance last time. So, okay, well, I'll agree with your comment. This is not gamesmanship. It's how we do it all the time. We look at what we have in the bank and we look at how much we need to ask the people to pony up. And we combine that with sometimes cutting expenses. As I've said in multiple public meetings, there are 3 places we balance the budget from. We control the expenses, we control what we ask the taxpayers to pay, and we control what we keep in savings. That's it.
And if we hold on to the money for, if we're overtaxing people, like Lisa always points out to us, and she's right. So.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to,
We didn't vote on that.
really?
We might have
Oh, we
voted.
voted on a lot
We
of
did,
stuff.
we talked about it.
That's right.
Not vote on it.
Let's vote. Sorry.
Christina,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes,
Mike.
Yes, thank you for keeping me on track, sir. Okay, now let's get to item 2, appointment of auditor. And I have a screen share for that. Let's see if it works. Okay, so this is sort of a,
screen share.
no, it didn't update. Stand by. So this is a standard process, as board members will remember. We gave Donna the go-ahead to set up the auditor for another 2 years. And this is just the process that we go through. And you'll see just above the center of the screen there in bold what we would. So let's start with a motion.
I move that the Board of Finance appoints the firm of Mahoney, Sable and Company for professional auditing services for the town of Wellington for the fiscal year ending 2022 for $42,000 and financial year ending fiscal year ending 2023 for $43,000.
43,300.
300, I'm sorry, I can't focus that far away. As it's written on the screen.
I'll second that. Any discussion? I think we've been pretty happy with their services, and their price increase is fairly minimal considering the extra work that is required, notably with the ARPA programming, adding extra work for the auditors over the next couple of years. Any more discussion? No? All right, let's vote.
Christina,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, last item of new business. This is just a discussion point just to get things started. We don't even need to spend a lot of time on it tonight if people don't like. I put on here review of previous budget seasons, and lessons learned for the future. And the reason I put this on here is that every year we get into budget season and we say something like, oh, remember last year this happened, or oh, we should have changed this, or we should have tried something else. But we always wait till the new budget season starts to try to do that. So what I'm hoping is if people will think over the next couple of weeks until the next meeting, whatever, send me an email if you have ideas, or save it for the next meeting. And let's try to be proactive. If we think we want something to be changed that's within our purview that might make the process easier for everybody involved, let's work on it in advance so people know it's coming. We tried that form this past year. Nobody used it.
That's
It
not true.
was the.
Some people used it.
Yeah, that's not true.
I don't
Jenny
remember
used
seeing
it.
it.
A few other people used it. Yeah.
Did?
Did Jenny Arpin use it?
Mhm.
Why don't I remember seeing it?
Because we see 10,000 pieces of paper and none of them.
Maybe.
That memorable.
Okay, so only a few people used it, but we introduced it as a test to try it out. So that's my point is before this next budget season, maybe we tweak the form or do something different or whatever. And maybe we help clear up our memories like mine just failed me. And so that was the reason for bringing this up. If we want to make this better for everyone, let's do it ahead of time. Anyone have anything they want to introduce right now, or do you want to think about it? Email me ideas later.
I want to just mention, one idea that's kind of, because it's about Board of Finance functioning going forward too. It's not just the budget process, but it's really related to that. I feel like some of our budget data as a town is not readily available. I felt that way about my own ability to get information and to see it. And I think a lot of it was because we're on Zoom and, we're no longer picking up a hard copy packet the night of the meeting. And it's just really changed the way that, change the information that we get, it feels. And I think in addition to that, at the town meeting, where a lot of questioning came into how we do CIP and what's in it and what isn't in it. And I feel like that the information that the voters see when they come to a town meeting, or that the townspeople see when they come to a town meeting, is could be made simpler, could be made, easier for them to look at, not having been steeped in the detail of the process, to have a takeaway about what it is they're being asked to approve. And but the downside is I think right now we all go to one-stop shopping. You go to Donna and ask for reports, and cost analysis and, you know, what this line did last year. And I feel like if we had more accessibility of the actual budget documents, like an approved budget posted online every year, you know, with some clarity to it, I think that would really help people be more proactive as members of the town in discussing the budget, understanding the budget, and certainly it'd be good for people like us, Board of Finance and CIP and everybody else trying to put budgets together. So, you know, Mansfield has something like this. Coventry does. I believe Tallinn does. I was kind of thinking of maybe looking into a way to make it easy and how that could be done, because it's not something I'm suggesting to load on someone as a special project.
Okay, I made a note on that. I think that idea has some good merit too.
And, you know, a lot of the people in the town at that last town meeting were asking, you know, some pretty, they had some basic misunderstanding of CIP and what that document does and what it means. And, you know, when things are cemented and where the town vote part of it comes in. And I thought, whoa, you know, that's something that, you know, in our town meeting form of government, people should find, you know, should be understanding easier. And we need to help them do that. And then I have a postscript on what Christina said. In that same social media post that went around, there was a reference to the operating budget having money in it for that presumed a new school building without that being voted on by the people. And that was also false. And there's not money like that in the operating budget. And so I feel like that was put out on, that was an election day spread with some misinformation. It didn't affect the ultimate vote on the budget, but it certainly threw a grenade in.
So again, if there was an approved budget available online, it would be easier to point people to that, to look at it, or even a yet to be approved budget.
Because people went to town hall and said, wait, what's up? You know, where's this money for the schools that's in the budget that we're hearing about? So rather than create that kind of alarm, I think it'd be good to let people have, that's just one extra resource to be able to go up and look it up themselves and see for themselves.
Anything else? Anybody else?
I just want to add to Steph, like I actually save my budget things. I have a few years of budget documents and CIP documents, and they've come in handy quite a few times because you just forget things, and sometimes you just want to like double check. And and some of that stuff is available online. It's just not all the detail, and it would be just great so we don't have to bother Donna or anyone else and not keep all the paper in our house too. So thanks.
So,
I just off of that, I'm just wondering, can we budget in the Board of Finance greater secretarial or greater role with the individual who takes the minutes, so that that individual can work to have all of the paperwork we want and all the descriptions we need on a dashboard that is specific to the Board of Finance on the Wellington, Connecticut website? I mean, is that something that we want to think about now before we
put it
go
in my
into budget
notes.
season?
I just added it to my notes so we can add that to the discussion, because it would be important to understand like how the webmaster work is done here and stuff like that, so that what would be the best way to integrate that. You know,
Yeah,
maybe-
and not to, I'm
maybe
sorry, I
it
don't
would
want to.
be- Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing, and that would be, there might be, there are some dashboards that, I don't know what to say. There are some platforms that hold sheets, like it's called smart sheets, where like one of them that would interact with our website, not very expensive, and hold our documents so they can't be printed and reproduced, but available. That's off of 365, because I think we're all on 365 now, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, too much description right now, but you get,
I took some notes though.
thank you.
Oh, no, we have another public to speak, right?
Gosh. Okay, anything else in this discussion? All right, let's move on. Any correspondence you have? So we're back to present to speak. Anybody who is present to speak, either turn on your camera and wave your hand or unmute and call out your name. Lisa?
I don't know the rules. I have a question. I don't think she's on the call anymore. The woman who was talking about the taxes and not getting revenue from the out of country.
Right,
Oh, there you are. Hi, Janice. I'm just wondering, I don't know if I heard this. I'm sorry. I don't want to delay anything. But are all the students that are out of country that don't pay their taxes also students of UConn? Or you
Yes,
don't know?
the majority are students of UConn, yeah.
And did you go to the bursar's office and say, please do not issue the final papers for graduation until they pay their responsibility, they're accountable and responsible to the taxes in Wellington? Because they
have
won't let them graduate until they pay it.
Right. I mean, that's one thing I can try.
Yeah, I would do that.
Roadblocks on something else, but I'll make a note to do that.
I would do that. Mansfield does that.
Okay.
Mansfield does that. All of the surrounding businesses, they gang on to that because that's the only measure we have to collect our
Okay.
revenue.
Great, thank you.
Sure thing.
I just want to add one other thing on the suspense list that the 17, or I should say the 18 and 19 delinquent accounts are going to be going to our collections office. So we can still, anything that's been put in suspense, we can still collect on that for 15 years. So it's not like we just throw it in there and stop, but we will continue to try and collect that.
Yeah, it's just to offer you some more help.
Thank you.
Sure.
all right. Any other present to speak? Let's move on to good and welfare. I don't have anything new for good and welfare. Everyone stay healthy, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor, say aye and wave goodbye.
Aye.
Bye.
And that looks unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks.